Now, large financial institutions tend to have very methodical, very conservative processes for rolling out new technology, and there are good reasons for this. Leng is the head of Mega. That's a group at National Australia Bank that handles basically messaging infrastructure and some other things. He and June talk about how Kafka was originally tested at NAB, then carefully rolled out and became mission-critical standard infrastructure more broadly in the organization. There are so many important lessons in this conversation for how big organizations adopt critical infrastructure technology like Kafka. So listen in. June and Leng, take it away.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Kafka Summit 2021 in APAC, Leng. To get us started, perhaps you can tell us about NAB as a business and your role there.
Yeah, thanks, June. My name's Leng B. I work for a technology division focusing on messaging, such as MQ, GCS, which is our integration platform, and cloud APIs. So I work for National Australia Bank. It's one of the 4 largest financial institutions in Australia, servicing millions of customers. So we're utilizing Confluent Kafka as the enterprise event platforms for our technology teams to leverage.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what are the problems you are trying to solve at NAB?
So originally we were looking at event-based architecture for a fraud use case scenario, because we wanted to do, National Australia Bank wanted to do real-time fraud decisioning, and also to generate models of events. And we started to search for the right event-based architecture. And the reason why we were trying to use event-based architecture was we're looking at the decoupling benefits of using asynchronous approach and to separate systems from the fraud systems. So the tight coupling means that we're going to increase our maintenance costs as the systems evolve over time. So we really wanted to look at decoupling benefits, as well as decoupling also, from our perspective, increases resiliency as well. So we did a lot of research at the end.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's very a common pattern to use Kafka to decouple dependencies among services. So could you tell us a bit about the platform approach introduced and why is self-servicing important to what you have deployed?
So the reason why we did that is the technology is quite new to the enterprise. So we want to make sure we set the right standards, framework, code base, and focus on resiliency. So that was key for us. So that's why we decided for the enterprise that this technology will be centrally managed. And so we deployed 2 instances of Kafka, one for sort of data warehouse, less time critical usage. And then we've got the real time instance for, real time, more time critical events. So the team itself, we're responsible for setting the standards, as I mentioned, but we also worked on self-service. When I say self-service, it's about the ability for teams to leverage that platform, such as topic creations, such as leveraging code base that we've developed for the enterprise, leveraging the standards, leveraging the architecture framework that we've worked with the architecture team to set. And so that's the type of approach that we took for the enterprise.
Okay, it sounds like a pretty powerful platform you guys have built there. How do you select Confluent? What process did you go through to make that decision?
So we went through, I'd say, a fairly extensive process. We had to obviously look at some of the event-based products out on the market. So we did paper-based assessment. We shortlisted the products that we wanted to prove out and test in a POC. And then we obviously conducted the POCs based on a set of performance requirements and other criteria, such as multi-cloud, portability, supportability requirements. We had to rely on senior leadership support along the way, particularly around contract negotiations, setting the architecture standards that we wanted to meet for the enterprise, and just getting the adoption across the technology teams. So having the senior leadership support is key to sort of enforce or encourage the technologies to adopt technology teams to adopt a newer technology for the organisation. So it was really about facts rather than opinions about capabilities. We also, I think we found that getting grassroots support from passionate members, such as, we're running town halls, roadshow, community best practices, also made a difference in and increasing the adoption as well.
So could you help us put into context how Confluent and Kafka fit into your overall multi-cloud environment and your larger architecture?
Yeah, so I think it's from a multi-cloud perspective, because we wanted the non-native sort of coupling with our service providers. So right now we're on AWS, Amazon. So we want the ability to install the same product in, say, Azure or Google Cloud in the future. So that flexibility was there from that product. We also needed the ability to in the future for topics to be shared across multi-cloud environments as well, to create and also to share.
Could you give us a couple of examples of how NAB use Kafka and Confluent?
Yeah, so the simple one that we talked about a fair bit in this conference is the fraud use case. So, fraud as a engine requires many events, many interactions, customer interactions, financial interactions. It needs to take all those type of events into the fraud system to build its model to then develop a real-time decisioning engine of that. So that was a good example of a use case. The other one that we're working on right now is event-based to notified customers. So we're setting up a technology capability to be able to leverage events to notify customers. So in the future, we might say, well, we want to improve customer service. So we might say, well, if you're close to overdrawing your account, we may want to notify you that you're about to overdraw your account, for example. So based on real-time events that will be occurring for the customers. So that's the sort of more customer improvement use cases for the future.
Yeah, these are interesting use cases. So what are some of the business impact results that you and the team have been able to generate for those use cases?
Yeah, I think for me, it was about delivering a central platform that will be leveraged across the enterprise. So our success was measuring the adoption and then the self-serve capability that we built to increase the adoption. So I think from my perspective, since the platform's been launched, it's been, really stable. I guess the best platform that I've developed from a resiliency perspective for the enterprise. I've been in technology for more than 20 years. So I think this is one of the, I could honestly say, we haven't had any major issues that impacted our customers or colleagues so far. And I can, attribute that to the product, but also to my teams, and also the enterprise effort to ensure that we tune Kafka towards resiliency rather than trying to extract the best performance that we can. So the platform is running 24/7 Cat A. So it's a critical service that we support, particularly when it's an enterprise capability.
Yeah, it's good to know that this platform is being used to serve those mission critical applications. So in a lot of other places, where we see Kafka and Confluent have been used, they often start with a set of like use cases, and then gradually they evolve into like a central nervous system. So do you see the same kind of transition happening at NAB?
I see that. And in fact, when we first sold this capability to senior leaders, that was one of the benefits that we outlined as a roadmap. I could see that the more events that we produce through the platform, the more that we can leverage those events for, to improve our customer experience and business operations as well. So I think the more we know, the more events that we publish through the platform, the more insights we have about our customers and our internal business. That's my belief. So right now, I think since we launched this platform in 2009, we have approximately 500 topics and 30 tenants across the enterprise. So it is widely adopted and utilized. And we're starting to see topics and events that was created originally for one use case is now being leveraged for other use cases. So that's where I see that centralized approach and the hub model starting to take shape. And I think I mentioned this, longer term, I like to see the sort of the centralized hub to, you leverage the events to improve our customer experience, and maybe looking at more real-time decisioning around the streaming analytics scenario as well. So I think having that centralized platform makes it easier for us to leverage the events.
It's good to see you guys moving towards that central nervous system architecture. One last question for you, Leng. What's next?
So for us, we've got a big focus on multi-cloud. So we really want to prove out the capabilities across multi-cloud. And as I previously mentioned, we need the ability to create topics from different cloud providers, and the receiving cloud provider should be able to still leverage the topics across cloud. So be able to share and produce topics across cloud. So that's something we're going to focus on. Also, we see that based on Confluent's maturity map, I think we're around the middle, so halfway there from a maturity map. And I think the next stage for us is about the Kafka streams and real-time analytics, leveraging the centralized platform. So we're still pursuing those self-service to make it easier for our consumers of the platforms to leverage.
Yeah, sounds like there's a lot of exciting things ahead of you. So with that, thanks for sharing with us, Leng, and I wish you continued success with the technology at NAB, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thanks for that.